I'm going to say some things too. So.
You don't want to start with the pledge?
All right, here we go.
Split up.
I call this meeting to order of the Highland Township Government Study Commission at 7 o'clock at the Highland Township Municipal Building on August 25th. We're going to say the prayer and then a pledge.
Marcia.
Dear Lord, please be with us tonight to help and guide us to make good decisions for the whole of Highland Township. Help us bring back our God-given rights that you have bestowed upon us to protect our environment, to live a life free from toxins, and guide those that need your guidance. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I also remember when you used to say amen to each other, and I still think we should. We said the pledge.
All right, commissioners, please state your name
that guy.
and say you're here. John Gurr is here.
Lloyd Hewling's here.
Bill Edinger here.
Misty Edinger here.
Matt Vaughn here.
Judy Orzetti here.
Amy Beers here.
All right, now we'll open the floor for public comment. Any public comment? Oh, go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
Question. How do you think this is going?
Busy.
Busy. What is your perception of throughout the meetings that you've had as to what the citizens of the township think of all this?
I think there's still a lot of confusion in Highland Township. That's my personal opinion of what home rule is, what it will do, what it won't do, that kind of stuff. That's my personal opinion. Is just there's a lot of confusion and misunderstanding about what this does.
Is that across the township, or is that just particular areas of the township?
My opinion has been across the township. We've had, I don't know how anybody else feels, we've had meetings here in James City, in Highland, at the Snow Seekers, and at the Russell City Sportsman's Club. And the different people that have come depends on the location. And it's, yeah, confusion. A lot of people don't quite understand home rule and what the purpose of it is, who brought it here, why it's here, that kind of stuff.
A lot of people I talk to seem to feel like the second-class township code gives us every right to give a petition, and the supervisors have to, go by our petition now. They don't realize, they don't have to do anything we ask them to do, where home rule will allow that.
So it's not only confusion with home rule, it's confusion with small town government.
They don't know what somebody suggested. Maybe they don't understand how the government that they have now acts when they're approached to do something that needs to be addressed. They just blatantly refuse to do it in most instances.
Right.
I agree with that.
Maybe going through a process of petition, which to a lot of people probably seem like it would take a long time. By the same token, a long time is better than forever.
Right, you guys? Okay. All right, we will now hear the reading of the minutes from the Secretary.
Highland Township Home Rules Commissioners meeting held at the Highland Sportsman's Club in Russell City on 8/18, 1900 hours. Roll call of Commissioners: Amy Beers present, Misty Edinger present, William Edinger present, John Gurr is present, Lloyd Hewling's present, Matt Vaughn present, Judy Orzetti present. Public comment period was opened by Chairperson John Gurr. Concerned citizen asked about how ordinances will be held in the future. It was stated that a charter is not written yet. Concerned citizens asked if there would be sawmills allowed in Highland Township under a home rule charter or form of government. It was explained that the Home Rule Study Commission does not want to stop industry from coming into our township. Concerned citizens asked about current supervisors and if they would retain their seats. It was explained that a charter is not written yet, but there are no plans at this time to get rid of our current board of supervisors. Concerned citizen asked about the future structure of the government of Highland Township. It was explained that the charter is not written yet, and a lot of these questions could probably be answered later in the meeting when we discussed the draft charter. It was explained to the public that a Home Rule Study Commission is not trying to take any benefits of living in Highland Township away from the citizens of Highland Township, that our ultimate goal is giving the rights of self-governance back to all of the people of Highland Township and try to eliminate the political minority representation. Current Supervisor Jim Wolf stated that the government of Highland Township is not trying to kill people and get rid of their rights, but another member of the audience disagreed and cited the way the Bill of Rights ordinance was rescinded and how she felt that it was all handled in secrecy and behind closed doors. Concerned citizen complained that currently the community voices are not being heard, and they hope that Home Rule would allow for public to be more involved in decision making in Highland Township. Concerned citizen asked about possible tax limitations, if that would be part of the charter. It was explained that the charter is not written yet, but there is a section in the draft addressing tax limitations and the right to be fairly taxed in Highland Township. Minutes from August 4th were read by Ms. Ettinger. John Gurris made motion to accept them as read. Lloyd Hewling seconded. Commissioners voted 7 yes, 0 no. Treasurer's report read by Ms. Ettinger. Amy Beers made motion to accept the report. Bill Ettinger seconded. Commissioners voted yes, 7 yes, 0 no. Agenda. John Gurris made motion to accept the agenda. Judy Rossetti seconded. Commissioners voted 7 yes, 0 no. Reminders and announcements. John Gurris stated that all Home Rule Study Commission communications are public and discoverable. The Home Rule Study Commission will follow Robert's Rules of Order for conducting meetings. Old business. August schedule was discussed and the commissioners agreed there is a need for more meetings and a public hearing in August. Ms. Ettinger made motion to have the meetings the 25th, 26th, and 30th and have a public hearing on August 29th, all at 7 o'clock p.m. in the municipal building in James City. Therefore, we would have access to phones and cell service should we need to reach out. Matt Vaughn seconded. Commissioners voted 7 yes, 0 no. Motion passed. JP will get with the township secretary to have this advertised. John Gurris made motion to have Tom Rossetti construct and do a mailing for public invite to the public hearing. Ms. Ettinger seconded. Commissioners voted 7 yes, 0 no. Motion carried. A draft of the final charter that needs to be handled, a draft of the final report that needs to be handed in with the final copy of the charter will be done by next meeting for commissioner and consultant review. New business. John Gurris introduced Chad Nicholson from CELDF and invited him to sit with commissioners at the table. Chad reviewed the draft charter with commissioners and discussion ensued. All commissioners are asked to review the draft charter in detail and come with any questions, comments, or concerns at their next meeting. No other immediate business on the table. Ms. Ettinger made motion to adjourn the meeting. Amy Beer seconded. Commissioners voted 7 yes, 0 no.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll second it.
All right. We'll now hear the treasurer's report from the
Sorry,
secretary.
I was busy with the final report and it's not available at this time. I'll have it probably tomorrow night.
Okay. Motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
I second it.
All right. Reminders are all communications are public, and meeting conduct is by Robert's rules. Now we'll go over old business. Draft charter discussion with Natalie.
Yes.
There's also a chair there.
You want to go ahead and call Chad in?
That one you don't open?
Oops, sorry.
I have updated copies of the charter, the draft of it where it stands. We're going to get Chad on the phone here so he can walk us through it, and then I'll provide some legal commentary like I did last time. So I'll
Are they like this one?
yeah, that's the one that actually shows like the changes
Okay.
that were made. This is a clean copy.
Okay.
Without showing the changes. It's a little bit bigger.
Okay,
It's
thank you.
easier on the eyes.
Yeah,
Oh, I can see that nice.
Yeah.
The other one I like.
Yeah. Chad Nicholson with the Community Environmental Legal.
Try again, because he's just next to me and said, I'm here.
Did you get a copy of one of these?
Reach Chad Nicholson with the Community Environmental.
Natalie, did you get one of these?
Yes. He doesn't know his number.
I just texted him that you're calling him.
There's a card there, that card right there.
Card?
Business card?
Yep.
I just need a number.
Yeah, no, you can't get them off her.
Reach Chad Nicholson with the Community Environmental Legal.
Maybe he's trying to call here.
You seen your wife from how to run a phone, bro?
I don't know.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, JP.
Good evening, Highland Township. This is Misty. Hi, Chad, I'm gonna put you on speaker. Hold on. Still there?
I'm here.
All right, you're on speaker.
Hey, can you hear me?
Can everybody hear him?
Barely.
Hello, we think
I
so.
can hear you. Okay, good. It wouldn't be a government study commission meeting if we didn't have a couple of technical issues. So, good evening, everybody. The intent for tonight's meeting was basically to go back over the charter draft from last week. We have done some additional research and updated the charter based on discussion from last week. We also want to hear more from you folks as you were able to read through it in more detail. See what other questions, comments, or concerns you may have, that we can then continue with the draft this weekend. It's our understanding that there will be no decisions made tonight, mostly just continuing discussion on the work that you've already done. And I will be guiding us through that conversation. And Natalie is there in person to provide legal perspective. We've had a number of lawyers involved in the project that have been researching and writing various parts of the charter based on the request. So Natalie has been involved in the vast majority of it, but there may be a couple questions that we can answer tonight depending on what they are. So we will get those for you by tomorrow if needed. So that is what I have on the agenda for tonight. Did anybody want to ask any questions about that or add anything to it?
The only question that I had in there is we had talked about, I don't remember if we talked about it last meeting. I don't think we were kind of just overwhelmed with all the information. We'd also talked about limiting the amount of terms for our supervisors. Like currently, I think they can run every 6 years forever, as many times as they want. And we talked about limiting that amount to like 2 or 3 terms in the lifetime.
I thought we were.
Okay, so you're talking, okay, so that's getting into the actual substance of the charter and proposing to have term limits the number of terms as well as the number of years in the term. Is that what you're
Right,
saying?
right.
Okay.
What'd you say?
I thought we
Let me
were
make
just
a
at
note of
4
that.
years.
4 years.
Yeah,
You folks
the
want
number
to
of
discuss
terms.
that and see, I imagine we'll have to do a bit of research on that, but is that something that the majority of the Government Study Commission would like to see in there as well?
That was a question.
We all want to see that?
Do we all want to see that or just,
In a commission? Or in the
just
charter?
something?
I would. I'm sorry, I was talking.
Other than the 4 years, would you want to see a term limit to be 2 or 3 terms?
Personally, I wouldn't.
All right.
You think somebody should be able to run every 4 years for the rest of their life?
Well, you're gonna look at it because that way it's still the will of the people. I mean, we're not doing the presidency. If you look at it in the state Congress and everything else, you can run 2-year term, the only person that can only run for 2 terms that I know of is the President of the United States. I mean, I'm not trying to dictate that much down, and if they're doing a good job, I think 4 years will dictate that, and they'll get reelected. I don't want to keep it from having somebody that's actually good, if we got lucky to get somebody good, to not be able to be reelected by the people. That's just my opinion. I'm just one person of the board.
Which, yeah.
I'm just one person of the board. I mean, that's...
I agree with that.
You swayed me too.
I think,
Yeah.
I guess the amount of the number of term limits will have to be discussed farther. Maybe tomorrow evening we'll think about that and then have that in discussion, on the agenda discussion for tomorrow evening.
Okay. Natalie, I don't think that's an area we've researched yet. Do you have any opinions or anything to offer on that in terms of what they're asking at this point?
Yeah, Chad, can you hear me okay?
I cannot hear you.
Okay. You cannot?
No, he cannot hear you.
Okay. How should we
You
do
can probably come over here closer.
You can sit by me. I only chew.
Guess I'll be in the middle.
I'm worried about changing too
Can you hear me from here, Chad?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, I, as to your question as to whether or not I have any thoughts on that, I do remember coming across some case research that dealt with whether or not you could actually put in positions on terms consecutively and like what that would look like, but I don't remember the specifics of it. So I have come across something like that in the research, and I have more concrete information on it, but since it wasn't a specific question, it's not on the tip of my tongue, so we can go back and look at that depending on what people want for tomorrow.
Okay. So we can punt that to tomorrow night. I'm wondering if you folks do want to discuss that a bit more right now and just see if it's something that is of interest to you, or if you folks want to ruminate on it and think on it over the night. Just let us know. What do you think?
Why don't we do a show of hands?
Yeah.
Done.
Show hands of who
Why don't we
agrees
do
or
a
who
show of
doesn't.
hand? I'm not trying to
Yeah.
I agree with you, Matt.
I
Now
agree
you
with
put it in
you
that
too.
perspective, I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, people that think we should limit the terms of a supervisor, we please raise their hand. We got one. People that think that they should have unlimited amount of terms.
Okay, so they voted 6-1 that they don't want a limit on the amount of terms, so we don't need to research that farther.
You get somebody good in here, you don't want to.
Okay.
Right.
I think the turnover rate for 4 years is what we're after. We're after.
Is that final then? You folks are done with that question?
Yep. 6-1, I think we're done.
Okay. Okay, so that bumped us ahead up into Article 3 regarding supervisor duties, the governing body. I'm thinking we should probably back up and start at the beginning, but I guess before we get back into the meat of the charter, is the agenda for tonight just going over the charter? Did anybody have any other bigger picture questions for me or Natalie before we dive into the charter itself?
No, I don't have any.
No, the only thing we have on here tonight was the draft charter, the draft final report, and talking about the public hearing and the duties and responsibilities that each one of us will have for that. So the big part of the bulk of our meeting will be the charter.
Okay. So then I'm going to propose that we run through it like we did last time, which is to basically take it section by section. Any opposition to that?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Overlooking.
Hearing none, then I believe you have 2 handouts in front of you. One is the updated version of the charter, and the other one shows the changes that have actually been made since the previous week's charter. Do folks have both of those handouts?
Yes.
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 Okay. So I'm going to propose that we go through the one that shows the actual changes that were made. It can be helpful sometimes to just look and see what's new, what's there, what has been taken out. Also a reminder, you know, I know it says draft and attorney-client communication on there. These have been prepared for the Government Study Commission at this point, and it is our recommendation that if anybody else wants to see these, that they make a written request to the Government Study Commission in order to be able to see them. Just out of curiosity, did any requests come into the Study Commission over the last week requesting the previous version of the charter?
No.
Okay. Okay, so then we can dive in. You'll see at the top of page 1, we added a preamble, essentially to detail what it is that the charter is doing. You can think of it like the preamble to the U.S. Constitution, you know, where it talks about the we the people of the United States in order to form a more perfect union, those types of things. We added one up there to give a statement of intent and the values that are in the charter. So just reading it through quickly. Says, we the people of Highland Township, in order to secure and protect our civil rights and the rights of our communities, and to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this home rule charter for the Township of Highland. Any questions on that or alterations? Are folks comfortable with the language? Do they like it, not like it?
Yeah, I think it's fine.
I think it's a general consensus that we like it.
Okay. So that then just frames what the charter is about. Then we move into Article 1. Actually, before we get into that, Natalie, did you have anything else to add on the framing, the preamble?
No, not on the preamble.
I couldn't hear anything.
She said no, not on the preamble.
Okay. So moving into Article 1, the Bill of Rights section, we've done a couple of language tweaks and a couple of things we need to run through you regarding the taxation stuff. Within Section 101, we added a short sentence at the end. Can folks see it? Is it underlined on their copy? Where it says, and the people have the right to change, alter, or abolish that system of government?
Somebody has to talk to him. He can't.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that visible? Okay. So basically that's just continuing to add detail to the section on governmental legitimacy, Section 101. The final sentence then reads, any system of government that becomes destructive of those ends is not legitimate, lawful, or constitutional, and the people have the right to change, alter, or abolish that system of government. Any questions on that or concerns? We just wanted to make that section more clear.
I think it's fine.
Okay, I'm not hearing much over there.
No,
Yeah.
no questions.
Nobody's talking. They're all shaking their head. They forget just because they can hear you that you can't see them. So there's a bunch of head nods that say it's fine.
I mean, he can't see us blinking?
Telepathy, but I'm not quite there yet, folks. Hopefully by tomorrow night I'll have that figured out. Section 104, I didn't hear actually, are those changes underlined on your copies?
Yes.
Show it as, okay, you can see that. Section 104, we changed which to that, just for grammatical purposes. Section 105, the rights of ecosystems and natural communities. We added the clause at the end which makes it specific to the injection well. So read together, it says ecosystems and natural communities within Highland Township possess the right to exist, flourish, and naturally evolve. And that right shall include the right to be free from activities which may pose potential risks to that right, including the depositing of waste from oil and gas extraction. So that clause is also in Section 106 at the end. It basically helps to further define what that particular right is getting at. Any questions on that?
No.
Nope.
Okay. Section 107 is basically the same meaning that we had the previous version. We just cleaned it up a little bit. We're calling it now a right to fair and equal taxation. And it says all residents of Highland Township possess the right to be fairly and equally taxed. That right shall include, but not be limited to, the right to be assessed taxes which do not exceed the rates previously established for the township by the Local Tax Enabling Act and the Second-Class Township Code. So it was our understanding that you folks wanted to limit any potential tax rate increases in the township to the standards already established by the state. And so that language is very similar to what we had before. It was just tweaked a bit for clarity. Natalie, did you have anything to add on that particular right at this point?
No, the only thing that I wanted to make sure was that was the only question that folks had pertaining to that section.
The question I have,
Yeah.
I think it's 5 mils. They're only allowed to raise it 5 mils a year.
Yeah, it depends on what it is that they're raising, like, what it is that they're actually looking to tax.
But I'm just saying, as far as adopting the budget, because this has been brought up to me, and I think you would really agree, that's part of the scuttlebutt that everybody thinks that we're out to raise taxes.
Right.
I would like to see some kind of a hard number in there.
Okay.
This is just myself. I'd like to see, like, this is the cap of what we're putting on it. Because to me, it looks, when people are reading this and they're going to vote, they're going to see this is all the more it can be, and this is only by law. Which most of that's in there, but it's, if people see that number in there, to me it kind of helps out, saying, hey, they can't raise this because this is the law. This is all the more we're going to let them raise it.
When I was reading in the charters, people, when they restricted like that, they either did it by mills or they did it by percentage.
Yeah. See, and we'll do it at mills, in which most of our voting constituents won't know it's mills, but the mills actually rolls back into what actually the township is going to be able to do.
All right.
Chad, could you hear that?
I thought it sounded like they wanted a specific number put in there. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's up to you guys. I mean, I think this should be more open. But the only reason why I brought that up, I'm looking when people do go to vote on this, that they're going to read, and that's, I think it's very eloquently worded and everything else, but if you have a hard number in that, people are going to look at that hard number and it clicks more. This is all the more it can be done because that is law.
But I'm also afraid that if we say that they can raise it 5%, that they're going to raise it 5%, even though they only needed to raise it 2%.
But that's, the 5%, it's a nature that refers back to the second-class township book. I mean, that's what has to be, I don't know, and I think it's, I'm not trying to bite up time, but it's something that I think, I'm trying to make a discussion about it.
Right.
I don't know if that would look better for people to see that, because it was just brought up last night. I was out eating and I was down Ridgeway, and it was brought up, and it's a worriment thing that this is the only reason why we were here is to raise taxes.
Right.
And I don't know if it looks better to have a hard number in there, you know, and refer it back to the second-class township book. We are going to make sure that this is all it can be raised because of the second-class township book. We are not going to let the supervisors raise it more into being there. I mean, I don't know if that's a play on words or...
Now, there are some charters that will allow you to do the mills, and then the supervisors could supersede that by a majority vote, so.
But I think our people, what we're looking, the supervisors with a majority vote, I don't know if we can actually limit it by a majority vote, because that way, in case something, when we look down this, if we say we are going to limit this, we are going to take away the supervisor's power, and this is all the more you can do it once a year, to make sure by a vote that they can't do it. I don't know if it's something worthwhile writing in there or not, because I'm looking for the final ends when we get to it. I guess, Chad, we have to have a little more discussion on this amongst ourselves.
Well, this is the time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, or not. I wasn't trying to, you know, and I'm
Yeah,
not.
we're discussing the benefits versus the non-benefits.
Pros and cons.
Yeah, the pros and cons of actually putting a hard number in there. Matt, his opinion is that if we put an actual hard number in there, that it's easier for people to understand. The cons of that, in my opinion, is if we put a hard number in there, they're going to use that hard number even if they don't need all of that number. You know, why stop it?
At least one other potential con as well, which is that if you put in a hard number and the state rates change, then you are in some ways outdated your charter. You know, we may be able to massage that language so, you know, it says this hard number or, you know, whatever the state thing is. But by putting hard numbers into that, you're also potentially dating the charter. Now, do you have any other thoughts to offer on the question right now?
Yeah, I think those are probably the concerns that would come to mind. The thought that I was thinking about over here is that it might be helpful to actually have concrete language to look at, and then that conversation might be a little bit more fruitful because you can actually see if there's a way to tailor the concern that the supervisors won't necessarily take advantage of the fact that there's a hard number in there, while at the same time having a hard number that's somehow
Lloyd,
tied
can I
to...
see your book? I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
okay. So that it's tied to any sort of future change that might happen in the second-class township code down the line. Does that make sense? Chad, did you hear me on that?
I heard parts of it. I think if you could get closer to the microphone, it would be helpful.
I promise I won't bite.
Yeah, I think my general suggestion is that if people have concrete language in front of them, that might be something worth doing for either tomorrow or for the hearing on the 29th. That way people can have a discussion around that. I'm wondering if it would be possible to put in a concrete number while at the same time tying it to the possibility that numbers might change for inflation and things like that. But that would be something for us to figure out as we go drafting it. I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that works. We can look into it. Another question I would have is if there's a specific tax that folks are most concerned about, or if they want to apply to all taxes.
Matt, was there a specific tax that we're talking about? Or
No,
was it
no.
just taxes in Highland Township?
It was just taxes because I'm trying to make it, I don't know the best way to put it general because I know what people are thinking. Like you get into the ambulance service and everything else. I don't know how you could word it, and it's not my pro quo, to saying we are not going to let the supervisor, and it says that, but just to get it more into layman's. And that's why I brought up the number about putting a hard number in there. We are not going to let them raise it any more than the bare minimum that this presents them to do that. To referendum that we are looking out for that.
So it sounds more like the desire for some language that specifically says that the supervisors don't have any more authority under this charter to raise rates beyond what they currently do. Is that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Pretty much, yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So it's, we're going to have to play with the language, but if it was something along those lines, does that get at?
I mean, you guys agree with me? I'm trying to look for it, because I know that's going to be a keynote when these people look at this.
Yeah, 'cause
That's what they're going to be looking at. Something that's very layman saying, we as a home rule will not let the supervisors raise taxes any more than is legally allowed.
I agree with that one.
You know?
Yeah. Because it's already
Yeah.
out there that
I
Chad,
think
they're- we're-
we're supposed
That's one of the biggest
discussing
it's the biggest
pretty
fear.
much, you know, kind of keep the dumb down the language for a better word.
Yeah, exactly, Missy. Exactly.
I mean, I hate the word dumb down, but it's kind of, I guess, what we're looking for.
Plain English.
Yes, yes.
That's a good term.
I mean, something that we're going to look at when there's a registered voter in there and they're already enamored by looking at this. To me, Chad, this is one of the biggest things that they're going to go look for, because it's one of the biggest worries that people have. And it is a good way to say dumb it down. We're just going to put it in layman's terms.
second
Just
paragraph.
so I'm clear what it is that we're looking to develop. It's language that says that the supervisors under this charter would not have any more authority to raise taxes than they do right now.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
More than allowable by state law.
Great.
Okay.
I mean, even if it had something in there governed by the second-class township code, they cannot raise it any more than as something to reference it back, that they're just not getting this number out of the sky. You know?
Okay. Natalie, do you have anything else to offer on that before we will move on?
No, I think we can work with the language and see what we come up with.
Okay.
The second paragraph
Anything
there
else in
talks
section
about that
107?
too. No, I don't.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Section 108, the right to intervene. That was an issue and has been an issue recently with the folks trying to intervene in the recent lawsuit. And so this is basically saying that folks in the township do have the authority to intervene. We added a couple of words at the end that says, defend the validity of this charter in judicial or other governmental proceedings. So just making it specific where folks have the authority to intervene, both in the courts as well as in other governmental proceedings. So we added that language to specify it further. And then section 109, the right to self-executing. That means that, I'll just read it, and then we added the sentence at the end based on your feedback from last week. So it says, all rights secured by this charter are inherent, fundamental and inalienable, and shall be self-executing and enforceable against both private and public actors. Further implementing legislation shall not be required for Highland Township, natural persons domiciled in Highland Township acting either individually or collectively, or the ecosystems and natural communities protected by the Charter or the provisions of the Charter. The rights secured by this section shall only be enforceable against actions specifically prohibited by this Charter. So that's the new language. Folks last week decided that they wanted the rights tailored specifically to the prohibitions, and even more specifically to the injection well. So that's what that language does. We talked about whether to keep the rights more broadly applicable, and folks felt concerned that that might potentially deter business or have other unintended consequences. And so you folks wanted those rights to be tailored specifically to the prohibition, specifically the injection well, which is what that last sentence does. Any questions or concerns on that, or did anybody think any more on that since last week?
I don't have any of that.
Nope, nobody seems to.
Natalie, did you have anything to further add on that?
No, not on that.
Okay. So that wraps up the Bill of Rights section as a whole. As mentioned, much of this is from the original ordinance, and we added a few things which we talked about last week. Natalie, do you have any other things to offer on the Bill of Rights as a section as a whole?
No, thank you.
Okay. Hearing nothing, what we're going to work on from that section, hopefully by tomorrow's meeting, is to try to make section 107 a bit more plain English and make clear the intentions of what it is that you folks want from there. So that's what we have for action from there.
That's good. All right, that's good.
Okay. Article 2, Section 201, we added a sentence at the end. It says, the creation of the new municipality through the popular adoption of this charter terminates the existence of the prior municipality and supersedes it in all respects. So this is just making clear that it is a new form of government that you folks would be adopting if the charter gets voted in. It's not just now, Highland Township, second-class township with a couple of bells and whistles. It actually is a whole new form of government, and we wanted to clarify that with that language there. Any questions or thoughts on that?
No, I don't.
Nope, everybody's shaking their head again.
Natalie?
Nope.
Okay. Section 202 we didn't change. Section 203, rules of operation, we added just a small clause there. It says, unless expanded, altered, or otherwise changed by the provisions of this charter. It previously said, or as provided by this charter. So that's just a grammatical thing. On the small grammar ones, I'm going to continue on unless somebody yells at me to stop.
Okay.
So, Section 205, we removed the word liabilities from the rights. It used to read legal claims and liabilities of the township. We reduced that to legal claims of the township just for clarity. Section 206, we added a couple of words. We just substituted a couple of words in the fifth line down. It used to say the previous township government, and we just said the prior municipality is what we changed it to. Again, reinforcing that this would be a new form of government that you are creating.
Looks good.
Okay. Section 208, adoption of budget. This was, we had some language for you to consider last time. We have tweaked it a bit more to try to make it more clear. So it currently reads, with the update, the Board of Supervisors shall be required to adopt a budget in accordance with the provisions of Section 3202 of the Pennsylvania Second-Class Township Code, or the relevant sections of any future code. In the event the Board of Supervisors are unable to adopt an annual budget within the required statutory timeframe, the annual budget from the previous fiscal year shall serve as the operating budget until the Board of Supervisors fulfills its duty to adopt a new annual budget. Natalie, did you have anything you wanted to say on that?
I think there was a question that came up when we were working on this, and I wanted to get clarification from the Government Study Commission. There were two possible interpretations of what folks were wanting. With adopting the budget, my understanding is that what folks are hoping is that it would roll over in the event that there's an impasse on the Board of Supervisors. What I wasn't clear about is if that's in the event of just any impasse, where there are 3 supervisors seated, and the 3 of them can't agree on rolling over a budget, or if that's in the case of there's a vacancy on the Board of Supervisors and the 2 of them can't come to an agreement. We can tailor it either way, but I wasn't sure if it was specifically targeted toward a situation where there's a vacancy and two supervisors can't agree, or if it's any impasse between the three.
I think it'd be.
It was any, my thing was any impasse,
Yes.
even if the three can't make a decision, I still don't want Highland Township to go without a budget.
Right.
You know, it doesn't matter if 3 or 2 or 10. I want to make sure that we have a budget.
Okay. That was my question. Thank you, Chad.
Okay, so, did the study commission have any further thoughts on that, or does that language get it what it is that you want?
Yeah,
Looks
that
good.
got it.
Looks
It
good.
looks good.
Okay, and Natalie, with the clarification on your question, the language that we have written applies then, correct?
I think so. Let me look at it afterward, and I'll confirm that with you.
Okay. Making a quick note over here. Okay, that's everything on Article 2, which is basically the DNA, the concrete and rebar of the municipality. Any further questions or comments on Article 2? Okay,
Nope.
now on to the section that everybody loves talking about.
Yeah.
Article 3, the governing body. Section 301, we just updated the language based on what we talked about last week to keep the Board of Supervisors being elected from the township at large. We had discussed whether or not the district the place, and after the complications involved, it was our understanding last week that you folks didn't want to pursue any district process. So we just reinforced that the Board of Supervisors shall consist of 3 supervisors, and they shall be elected from the township at large. Any further discussion or question on that at this point?
No.
Nope.
Okay. Okay, section 302. Let me see. Well, 302 from last week was districts, which we had dropped. We left that as a placeholder. So if you're looking at last week's one, we took out 302, which was districts, and that moves up vacancies to section 302. And we updated some of the language based on the values that we heard last week, which is that they wanted any vacancies to be filled via election, and then the appointment process that would occur between the vacancy occurring and the next election had to have somebody who resides within the township and who would actually run for a position of supervisor. So I'm going to read through the language. It's a bit of a wordy amendment here, but we think it gets at what you folks wanted, so we want to make sure. So it says, if a vacancy occurs on the Board of Supervisors, the remaining supervisor shall appoint a successor who is an elector of Highland Township, who has resided within the township continuously for at least 1 year prior to their appointment, and who appeared on the ballot for the position of supervisor in Highland Township in the most recent election for supervisor within the township. The appointment of any new supervisor shall only be effective until the next available primary municipal or general election, at which point a new supervisor shall be elected to fill the original vacancy for the remainder of the term. Upon the failure of the Board of Supervisors to make the appointment within 30 days after the vacancy occurs, the vacancy shall be filled at the next available primary municipal or general election in accordance with the regular election procedures, provided there has been time for the completion of such election procedures. So in short, what that means is that if a vacancy occurs, the 2 remaining supervisors need to appoint somebody to that position who ran for supervisor in the previous election, and any appointment that they do make only lasts for the next available election, at which point the township will vote for a new supervisor. If the Board of Supervisors is unable to appoint a replacement for that interim period, then that seat remains vacant until the next election as well. So that's the plain English. Questions or comments on that?
Nope, that's what I was looking for. How about everybody else?
Nope, that's,
Yeah,
good.
that's exactly what
perfect.
everybody was looking for. You got applauses and everything.
that was perfect.
And Lloyd did a somersault.
So it doesn't go to the judge and
Exactly.
Right.
flood the judge again.
I'm sorry?
Nope, we were happy so it doesn't go to Elk County again to make the next decision.
Okay. Natalie, anything to add on that?
The only thing I wanted to double check on when I was listening to folks last week, I wasn't sure if it was conclusive that people wanted to have a sure thing as an appointment procedure between when the vacancy occurs and the next election, or if people wanted the possibility for that space to be left open and then filled at the next election. It sounds like here there's a consensus that people want that to be filled in the interim and then have the election. Okay.
Yeah, because without that, then we have two supervisors, and sometimes they can't make a decision, and so a decision stays until the next election. But if they can make a decision, we want to be able to move forward.
That sounds good. That's all I had, Chad.
Natalie, did you want to reinforce anything on our research from that, just in terms of, what you had found in terms of the GSC's ability to do the vacancy language?
Sure, yeah. Are you talking about the original research or some of the research I've been continuing doing?
Just where we sit with it right now, just so that the GSC knows, what our opinion is on the matter here.
Yeah, I think you folks are in a good position to be able to do that, to actually create your own vacancy filling procedure, especially because of the position that it is that you're creating the procedure for. It looks like certain positions it might be more complicated for, but for supervisors of the township, that's something that it looks like a vacancy filling procedure by an election is something that that you all can do. So you're on good ground.
Okay. Which also doesn't mean that somebody may not challenge it at some point.
Right.
But. Okay.
They have to really want it to challenge it, though.
You gotta pay.
Section 303, term of office. This was not limiting the number of terms that people can run for, but limiting the number of years. Right now, 6 years is our understanding. You folks wanted that at 4. So we updated the language a bit. It just says the term of office for newly elected supervisors shall be 4 years.
Yeah.
Anything there?
Nope, we're good there.
And if you guys hear anything that you want to add, please tell us.
And section
Everything sounds pretty good so far.
304 is the authority of existing officers. It's basically saying that anybody that currently holds office will continue to hold office even under the adoption of the charter, and they will be able to serve out their term. We had removed the next 2 clauses, section 306, which was dealing with health insurance, and section 307, which was recall. The health insurance one, we understood that you folks may still be considering and wanting more information on. I just removed it for tonight's discussion, but we can put it back in. Natalie, do you want to update folks on the health insurance research?
One of the other attorneys was taking the bulk of that. I think as far as I know, they're working on crafting some more language. That's where things are at right now.
Okay. And I believe last week's discussion was looking at distinguishing between part-time and full-time employees. And so, yes, there is other research being handled right now, and hopefully we'll have something for you folks tomorrow to consider. Was there any other thoughts that people have, come up with or thought about between last meeting and tonight in terms of specific questions or ideas for that?
No, I don't.
Nope. The heads are shaking, not nodding.
The brains rattle.
All right. And then we removed from the last week's charter, section 307, the recall provision, or the impeachment stuff, based on the research that we had presented. Is that still correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of Article 3 regarding the governing body. Any other thoughts from anybody on supervisor stuff?
I don't.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Article 4, prohibitions and enforcement. Section 401, that's the same language that was there last week. That's regarding the injection wells, the depositing of waste from oil and gas extraction. We took out Section 402 from last week, which is dealing with the water protection stuff. Sounds like folks wanted to think on that a bit more. We can put that back in if you come up with specifics. So I wanted to open it up right now for discussion to see if you folks have thought through it anymore, if you have any specifics, or if you wanted to drop it.
Is that the one I was questioning?
Yes.
No, we're good with that.
So,
Just drop it.
what we want to do is, do we want to make sure that the water, our municipal authorities stay within the township?
Yes.
Russell City has their municipal, Highland has their municipal, and the Highland wants a municipal in the future. they can have one in
Yeah.
the future, but it doesn't get sold to
Right.
private American Water Corporation, for instance, to come in and take over that.
Right, I did talk to our water authority after, he's perfectly fine with this. So, against privatization, we want it
So
to
we
stay.
want to stay.
We want to
All
stay.
right, so we're back to that
Independent.
privatization of water. We want, it seems like the general consensus here is that we want our water and our municipal authorities to stay within the township. We don't want, you know, like a big water company to come in and be able to buy the water company and charge us outrageous prices because they want to.
Or
We want
Seneca
to keep
Resources
that,
coming in and
keep our
buying.
water and our water companies within Highland.
It's more trouble than it's worth.
So this specifically would be for the municipal authority, correct?
Yeah. And not only
And-
the current Highland Township Municipal Authority, but also the Russell City Municipal Authority, and maybe even someday a future Highland Village Municipal Authority. We want them to stay, you know, be publicly owned by the township, not privately owned.
I do have a question, will that cover like Trulick Springs?
Trulick Springs isn't a water supply.
People used to get their water from
They do, but there's signs up saying that you shouldn't drink the water. And I'm sorry I was talking,
No,
but Trulick Springs actually doesn't actually feed anything. I think what we're looking at the water supplies of DeYoung
right,
in James City. So they're owned, I think you're a nonprofit.
yes, we are.
You're a nonprofit, you're looking at James City. So I think the wording, what we're getting back to is if we can't sell them, that way somebody's not gonna come in and say, if they sell your water supply, even though it's a nonprofit, saying these people are gonna mysteriously cure the world, someone's gonna come in and charge you $10 for every drink.
Right,
That's the way I look
Right.
at it.
Yeah, to keep it within, keep it a publicly owned
right.
entity.
I
instead
just
of
wondered
privately owned.
if it covered springs that weren't,
That would be a.
That'd be a
a
whole
water-
different story.
Aquifer or a water
Okay.
source.
Well, I think that's
That's just
in,
a curiosity.
but I think that's in the protection of our clean water and
Yes.
stuff. So that
Okay.
would actually fall upon that in case somebody did something to detrimentally do
Exactly.
something wrong to
was just
that
a
water
curiosity
supply.
question.
It's like the busters.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too,
Okay.
is like this, the public springs
Mhm.
would stay under that protecting the
other-
water.
Okay,
And this would be protecting the municipal authorities.
okay. Alright, I was just wondering, curiosity question.
All right,
So, can you summarize for me what it is? I think I understood, but it felt like more discussion was going on, so where's the conversation at right now?
what it was is we want to keep our municipal authorities in Highland Township publicly owned like they currently are. And therefore stop privatization of them, stop a private company from coming in, being able to purchase those municipal authorities and then charging us outrageous prices for the water. The discussion then ensued is we have some natural springs that a lot of people like to get drinking water from. And we were talking about how do we protect those, and then we went back to, well, those springs and that kind of stuff are protected by the, you know, the water protection part of it, not the privatization of the water company protection.
Okay, so the thought is to keep it more narrowly focused on the municipal authorities staying publicly owned and not being privatized, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and there are two municipal authorities in the township, one in Russell City and one in James City, is that right?
Yes, there's two currently operating municipal authorities in Highland Township. One's called the Highland Township Municipal Authority, but that only currently supplies James City. Excuse me, and then there's Russell City
Russell City
Water
Water.
Authority that supplies DeYoung. Or Russell City, depending on who you're talking to. Because it's the same town. Yeah.
Is there any way,
Hold on, Chad, we got a question.
And how do the authority members get their posts? Are they elected or are they appointed? Do we know?
they're appointed?
The authority is appointed.
Yes.
Hold on a second,
By
Chad.
supervisors?
No, not our way anyway.
I think by whoever steps up to it and says, I'll do
Whoever
it.
steps up, and it's the same way anybody's asked, it, so
Yeah.
it'd be appointment. But my question is, in the end of that wording, could we make it in case something, and we never know, they might have to sell their water company, we might have to sell our water company. Is there any way we could put the wording in that so it would have to come up to a general election before they could sell that, where the people could vote on that? I'm saying worst case scenario, I'm looking, let's say something drastic happens, their water source gets contaminated. So American Water is going to have to lay a pipeline the whole way out there. I'm saying pie in the sky thing. Same thing with us. So before that happens, and we have to sell it, because there might always come to a point where we might have to sell it, can that be voted on in the general election? Before they did that, it wouldn't be up to the board to sell it, but the people would have to vote on it to let them sell it. I'm just looking at a provision in case something bad happens. I don't know if that was too wordy.
It was really wordy. I was trying to figure out how to shorten your question for Chad. Either that or you can come over closer and ask the question.
Chad, Matt Bowler.
Hi, man.
Hey, my question is, in the end of that, in case something did happen, because we want to be able to protect our own municipal water authorities, and we want them to be private, but if something did happen unforeseeably, could we word that so it would have to come up in a general election where everybody would have to vote on that before we were allowed to sell it? I'm not a linguist, and I'm trying to think what but in case something did happen, i.e., let's say Crystal Springs did get contaminated. If Crystal Springs did get contaminated, then if we would have to then sell our infrastructure to American Water, but that would have to come up to a vote in the general election. I'm kind of looking at trying to protect it both ways. I'm saying I don't want to sell it, but if in case something unforeseeably happens, does come up that we do have to sell it because we couldn't get water, can we word something in like that? And that's up to you guys.
Do you mean sell your water or sell the authority and the equipment?
Well, it'd be sell the equipment and the infrastructure. The authority at that point would abolish because it'd be gone, but it'd be selling the infrastructure. It'd be the same way I'm looking at it for DeYoung too. I mean, if somebody had to come in and drill a well for you in case something happened.
Right. Yeah, we're going to have to look into these questions a bit. I mean, there's research to be done on just what it would mean to keep the municipal authorities publicly owned. And then with that, I think we will look at the question of what happens if the authority dissolves.
I mean, because that's something I really think we should look at.
Provisions within the bylaws of authorities that talk about dissolution, so that, you know, that may already be dealt with. But we're going to have to look into this. Natalie, do you have any thoughts off the top of your head?
No, I think I understand the question. It's just going to be a matter of chasing down the rabbit hole, what the cases say on it.
And I apologize. I'm not trying to create more work. I really apologize.
No, that's all right. As long as I understand the question, I'll track it down.
Okay.
Okay.
I can move on.
All right, I think I'm clear on the question. Natalie, you're clear on the questions as well?
I believe so.
Okay. Okay, what is now section 402, and if we get the water language worked up, and, you know, we'll hope maybe by tomorrow, otherwise it'll be next week, that may go back into 402, but the state and federal authority is basically the same language as in there before. We just wordsmithed it a little bit. There's no permit, license, privilege, charter, or other authorization issued by any state or federal government entity that would enable any corporation or person to violate the rights or prohibitions of this charter shall be lawful within Highland Township. You can see the language we took out is basically the same thing. It just moved the words around a bit. Any questions on that?
No.
Looks good.
Looks good.
Okay. Moving down to section 406. This was from the conversation we had last week about nonviolent direct action. Folks wanted to see some language, and I know they wanted to table the discussion until this week. But this is what language potentially could look like. This is similar language to the ordinance that was passed recently in Grant Township as well. So I'll read it quickly and then folks can discuss it. If a court fails to uphold the Highland Township Home Rule Charter's limitations on corporate power or otherwise fails to uphold the rights secured by Article 1 of the Charter, The rights and prohibitions secured by the charter shall not be affected by that judicial failure, and any natural person may then enforce the rights and prohibitions of the charter through nonviolent direct action. If enforcement through nonviolent direct action is commenced, this law shall prohibit any private or public actor from bringing criminal charges or filing any civil or other criminal action against those participating in nonviolent direct action. If filed in violation of this provision, the applicable court must dismiss the action promptly without further filings being required of nonviolent direct action participants. Nonviolent direct action is used by this provision shall mean any nonviolent activities or actions carried out to directly enforce the rights and prohibitions contained within the Grant Township Home Rule Charter. I need to change that to Highland Township Home Rule Charter. So, and just to reiterate, as we talked about last week, this is if you get to a point where the courts fail you and fail to protect your rights. This is language that would authorize folks to directly enforce the terms of this charter. And the two operative pieces of that are the ones that say that no charges shall be filed against those participating in direct action to enforce the charter. And if they are filed, then a relevant court must dismiss those charges without further filing. So that is what some of that language might look like. Questions, discussion?
Yeah, is that talking about like a standoff?
Yes.
Yeah, I have a thing on that one. I've been doing a lot of.
We can't hear you.
I've been doing a lot of thinking about that one, Chad. Is if this well does end up going in, we get people that going out there and standing at the end of James City Road. What if something major happens? We get called out to a fire, car accident, or one of those trucks roll over. They're not going to let any of the fire department equipment through, or anything like that. They're going to be standing in our road.
Well, I think
I would be saying that we would be sitting right in front of that.
Yeah, right at the yellow gate.
So we got to
in front of that yellow gate.
We got to
That's
limit
what scares
that.
me. It doesn't limit
That'd be
it.
it.
You
Right,
have to
it
stand in
doesn't
front of those
limit
gates.
that.
It says that you can do direct action in like pie in the sky scenario here again. One of those trucks carrying that poison falls over out on 66. All right, it's blocking both lanes of 66, so no other trucks carrying poison gets in. Now people are going to stop that 66 from getting cleared because it's stopping people from coming in to pump poison in there. You know what I mean? Now the fire trucks, the fire department is stuck in James City. You know, whoever's in James City is stuck in there because of all this going on out there, and there's nothing the law can do to clear this out and make it a functional pass again. Again, that's like worst case crazy scenario.
But it could happen.
But I've seen 66 shut down because of the truck.
We could call it township then with the plow. Just
But if we do limit the scope of that, and this might take more talk, if we do, I understand exactly what you two are getting, but if we do limit the scope of that, because this is broad terms, we're saying if anything arises in Highland Township that fights that, if we limit the scope of that, we're either going to have to make up our minds, we're going to say it's prohibiting the injection well and put a boundary marker on it. You know what I mean? Because that's what we're in tune. I mean, if something happened, what else would be illegal? Something stupid illegal that we in the charter, but
This will go for Bill and I want to dump oil on the dirt road.
Yeah.
In order to stop the dust.
Yeah.
Well, that's affecting somebody else's clean water possibly because it's a runoff. Now they're standing there.
So we're blocking.
They should be able to stop me from dumping oil on a dirt road to keep the dust from coming into my house. I don't
There's
live on
another
the
big
dirt road,
fire
so that's
out
not gonna
here.
happen,
It's just
but-
like that injection well.
Yeah.
If we limit it to that injection well, if there's a fire over there in Jones Township,
I understand.
they're going to block us from even getting that.
Because it talks about upholding the rights and the prohibitions.
Yeah.
And if you remember back to section 109,
Yeah.
we limited the prohibitions. We limited the rights directly to the prohibitions, which was the injection well.
Okay.
So it's concerning.
Because of the way the Bill of Rights is structured, it does limit it to the injection well right now.
Yeah, but the thing that I still have with that is that the road that is on is in Highland Township, but the other end of that is in Jones Township, and we cover that end of Highland Township.
If we put this in, as long as they stayed on the Highland Township line, it wouldn't
But
be
the
legal.
thing is that Jones
If there's a
Township-
protest, the cops are gonna be aware of it anyways, so they're gonna have to maintain, you cannot close any public road.
Right.
Yeah, so we would prohibit,
You
we'd be at the
cannot
site at that yellow gate.
Close
That's where we
any
would be.
public road.
Okay, as long as it's.
Yeah, we don't
right
care if they're
there.
coming down, they can drive down Lamont
But if
Road.
you get
They
some of
just
these
can't go
people that-
down.
I know
into
there's
the
crazy
injection.
people in James City, Highland, and Russell
Russell
City.
City.
You get some of these people that are gonna go across that road anyways.
That's
to
crazy
Try to
though.
block us
Right. Well, that's what I mean.
if something actually
Yeah.
happens.
Can I ask a clarification?
Hatfield and McCoy's here.
Is one of the concerns that you're expressing up here that humanitarian aid might not be able to get through to people who need it?
Right,
Yes.
that is correct.
Okay. Chad, I think the concern that I'm hearing is that regardless of where any action might take,
That's a good
that
point,
any
Bill.
sort of provision might accidentally or inadvertently be used to block humanitarian aid, say an ambulance or say a fire truck that's on its way to help someone, like say on the other side of the blockade. The first thought that comes to mind is seeing if we can work around language that would say something to the effect of that direct action, while it might be legal, can't be used to impede humanitarian aid or something along those lines. We'd have to think it through, but that's the first thought that's coming to my mind. What do you think?
Well, the other thought is, as it's currently written right now, it would not legalize that type of activity because that activity would be stopping activities unrelated to the injection well. As it's written, as I understand it, the rights and the prohibitions, that language right now is applicable only to the injection well. So if it was an emergency vehicle going through, then that's not directly applicable to the injection well. So this provision would not apply to that. That doesn't mean that people still wouldn't do that. And the question is, if people are going to be doing that anyways, there's not really anything you can do. Well, I can't say that for sure, but how do you carve out what it is that you want versus what it is you don't want? As it's currently written, this is applying only to stopping the injection well, the direct action portion. And so, theoretically, these provisions would not apply to folks that would be, getting in the way of emergency vehicles. That said, whether this language is in there or not, there could still be people that are getting in the way of emergency vehicles. And this language would not be there to protect them either way. So, it could potentially massage the language further and,
Right.
like for maybe our attorneys to think about it a bit more. But as I understand it, the way it's currently written, the scenario that's being discussed would not be covered by this language.
In Clearfield, they had a sit-in where they had elderly in rocking chairs.
Yeah.
They couldn't get down the road. And I think that if I was one of those people where those people had an emergency on the other side of that and an ambulance come, I think the people would pick up their rocking chairs and move aside, let that emergency vehicle through and then put that back up. To keep
never
the,
know, though.
Because you're
Keep the
you're a
injection well
pessimist. You're an optimistic person.
Right. Once this,
I drove down to the highway in a big red fire truck with lights and
won't move.
sirens, and people don't move.
They don't.
I mean, in the great, in the great world that we should live in, people get off the road and get out of the way. In the real world, people are upset because you're in their way.
right, I'm just still half of afraid if this injection well does go in and we put something like this in, you're gonna get tons of cars or something over there that's blocking maybe both sides of the
Well, can
road
we-
and there's only one lane of traffic.
I agree with your words. Can
And-
he just word something in?
Right.
But we cannot impede any kind of humanitarian effort.
Again, on
Yeah.
emergency, any kind
Any
of
kind of
emergency.
emergency
vehicle.
humanitarian effort.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though that's already covered,
mean-
maybe we should make it general language in there. So otherwise people can't say, well, the home rule charter says I can stand in the middle of the road, doggone it, I'm gonna stand in the middle of the road.
so if humanitarian
If you
aid,
say the home rule charter says you can stand in the middle of the road unless there's a big red fire truck coming your way, then you have to move, then people will be more apt to move.
so if that language is in there, I mean, I would say yes to that.
I would too. If
I would say yes
it's
to
in
the
there.
ability to be able to protect our
Right.
I agree.
who all agrees with that?
That language should be in
If
there,
the
yeah.
language is in
Yeah,
there,
I like language.
not obstructing emergency, any emergency vehicles.
or in humanitarian efforts.
Well, that way it would actually give law enforcement some way of cleaning it out.
Yeah.
Even though we got to remember, if we do get to this is just written in. This might not, if all 20 of us or 15 of us decide to go up there and go kumbaya, we all might still be going to the pokey.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean,
Nobody knows. Trouble.
Then can you see if you guys see if you can reword that in a way that you can put emergency vehicles obstructing and putting it in there like that?
Yeah, Chad, why not, let's think together, about how to include something along those lines that's a little bit more explicit. Even though the language does say, what it does right now, maybe we can make it a little bit, like we were talking about section 107, put it perhaps in more plain English.
Yes.
To make sure that that's apparent.
Okay.
I have a question.
Oh, we have a question.
The sheriff enforces the ordinances as a second-class township. Who enforces the home rule? Would that be state?
We had a question. Currently, the sheriff enforces the things for the second-class township code. Who would enforce the provisions in a home rule charter? Would that still be the sheriff?
Natalie, do you want to offer anything there?
Off the top of my head, yeah, it should be the sheriff, but let me double check on it.
Okay.
That's my initial reaction. But yeah, I'll double check.
Oftentimes, it depends on, like if the sheriff is currently enforcing, that, I think usually what would happen, like in other places though, it depends if they have code enforcement officers or the developing police forces.
That's all I have on that section.
All right.
Anything else on 406?
Nope, we don't think so.
Okay, 407 is basically the same language, but we massaged a little bit. Probably sounds familiar to you folks right now. Intervention in lawsuits. As the Highland Township government might be subject to political forces beyond the control of natural persons domiciled in Highland Township, the Highland Township government support for defense of the charter and such lawsuits shall not be deemed to render the Highland Township Municipal Corporation adequate to represent fully the interests of such intervening persons. So shall not be a ground upon which to deny such intervention by such persons or by ecosystems or natural communities. So this is language that's clearly getting at what just happened, which is your supervisors claiming to represent the entire township and not allowing other intervening parties like the water authority or the citizens group into the mix. So we clarified that.
Okay.
Okay. That is most of everything from section 4. Any other questions or comments on section 4?
I don't.
Nope.
Okay.
Head shaking again.
I know.
Article 5 is unchanged regarding corporate powers. Article 6 is the emergency town meeting. Now, I'm not there to see a show of hands, but I'm curious who actually read through it all.
I did. I'm a nerd like that. I think I might be the only one.
Questions, comments, thoughts? Good, bad? Anything changed?
I think they're reading it now.
No, we're thinking on the percentage of.
I think it looks pretty good. Yeah.
I like the 30%
Yeah.
because it's hard, but it's doable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's fine.
Yeah, looks good to me.
Looks good.
They say it looks good.
Thumbs up all around?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, so the 30% threshold is good. The makeup of the emergency town meeting committee, who's on that, all of that stuff is cool with you guys?
Yes.
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 Okay. All right. That is most of the substantive changes in the charter that we made from last week. There's a couple of little nitty grammar things a little bit further down, but I don't think anything we need to go over. You can look at it yourselves. A couple of two other things to ask about. Last week we dropped the supervisor's salary limit from the charter. Just want to make sure that's still the opinion of the commission.
Yes.
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 Okay. And then the other outstanding item was regarding the fire department and whether there was a way to, continue to keep the volunteer fire department in effect if it met certain criteria. If folks looked into that, is any more thinking on that?
I have been completely unable to find any hardcore good material on that. It tells us, I see everywhere where it tells us how to run one, how to even make one. It doesn't tell us what constitutes one. I can make one, I can make a new one. I can run the one we got. But nothing says what's good and what's not.
Okay. Well, I mean, if there's not specific definitions for it, obviously it's going to be difficult for us to work up the language. A reminder, too, is that if you do find something or you want to deal with it in the future, if the charter gets voted in, you can amend the charter and something like that as well.
Okay. Sounds good.
And I'll keep looking, because my biggest fear, this is just my personal fear, it's not like I've heard the rumor, I haven't heard anything, but I'm just scared that just out of pure vengeance, that some people are going to come head on for that fire department if this home rule gets voted in.
Just have to fight them.
Just out of pure vengeance. The reason why we have 3 of our commissioners are also 3 of our fire department leaders, and that'd be...
Well, why don't we put something in there that the Board of Supervisors cannot disband the Highland Township Municipal Authority unless it goes to a general election? Why don't we blanket something that's very calm, it's like that? That way you get a little bit of security out of it.
Or that it's proved unjust.
That it's proved unjust or unfair or misappropriation of funds. But why don't we put it that if you understand where I'm going? You word things better than me. Can we put something in like that?
The fire department, the water authority, and the sewer authority that, because basically right now the supervisors can say who is in control of that.
Yeah,
but
basically right
as
now.
long as they're doing their own thing and everything's
I agree. I know
good,
exactly where you're going. I
then-
agree with you.
Yeah, but that's for the water authority and stuff.
But why can't
But
we
why
make
can't
it
we put
for
the
the
fire
fire department too?
Right, we
Maybe
can.
the fire department too.
We're stopping our municipal authorities from going outside of Highland Township. We should be able to stop the fire protection from going outside the fire department.
That's a good
You,
idea.
you shouldn't be able to just abolish something because
Right.
you don't
Because
want
it's
it.
Somebody's
working,
mad.
because they don't
Yeah.
want
It's-
it.
Right.
Right. And currently we have...
And I understand, because you're saying if somebody gets a petition, goes around to go after the fire department.
You know it's gonna happen with one person.
Right, well, I mean, you have to draw limitations somewhere.
But it's still
We
gonna,
need the fire
it's still
department as
gonna
much
go
as
to
we
a
need the
vote,
water
though.
and
Nobody's
sewer.
gonna pay more money than they want to get Kane. I mean, people know you're doing a good job.
Kane won't do it.
Kane won't
Well,
do
but
it.
I'm using that as an analogy.
Yeah.
People in this township, I gotta give you two kudos. The Highland Township Fire Department is doing a hell of a job.
Thank you.
A hell of a job.
We need to keep it that way. We need to.
And that's
keep
what I'm
it-
saying, why don't, if there's some kind of logistic way you can put in there that they cannot, as long as it's up and running, the members are good, I don't know how to word it, but saying if you are a fire
Fully
department in
functional,
good
certified
standing,
members.
and you have everything that it cannot be abolished by the supervisor, that must go to a vote.
And that way we're giving it back to the people, you know what I mean? And the majority of people are not gonna vote to abolish Highland Township Fire Department. I truthfully don't believe that.
Ted, can you hear the discussion?
I can. It sounds similar to where we were at last week, I believe, which is what is the definition? Is that correct?
No.
No,
wording.
like currently we have that about that privatization of the water, our municipal authorities. What we're looking for is something along that line, same line for the fire department, that they can't disband the current fire department just because they're mad.
Just because one person or two people.
So by referendum.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the
As
problem,
long
we
as
don't
it's
know the
viable.
definition
You're
of viable.
exactly right, thank you.
I've looked for the definition of a viable fire department,
both have.
and I can't find a definition for viable fire department. So to say, as long as the fire department is a viable fire department, then it can't be disbanded. Well, what is a viable fire department?
But
Just
the
because I think it is, doesn't mean,
But if you use viable and it has to go to an election to get rid of it, the people are gonna know what's viable. So if you use viable as a generic term, the people in Highland Township, our voters, are gonna know what's viable is, because you're there for them, and you have been.
You know, there had to be enough people against the fire department to
we couldn't disband the fire department without it being on a ballot vote.
Yeah,
referendum, yeah.
Right.
yes.
Right.
Like they couldn't even call emergency town meeting.
No, I think there should be something in there to protect the fire
I do too. I
department,
just
the water
couldn't figure
authority,
out
sewer
what.
authority.
That's something. I
Have
thought
Chad
we
look
talked
into.
So could that language cover all three of those things Lloyd's talking about? So we just
Yeah,
want-
Amy, where do we get with
thinking here in the back of my
nepotism
mind
now
that,
in the
Chad,
government body? Where do we get with
John just
nepotism
asked
in the
me
government body
how
structure?
something like this might interplay with some of the other municipal authorities.
No, that's why I'm
I
saying,
think that's
that's why I
something
want.
that I would want to
before you
look
get-
into because my
Exactly.
intuition is that this could be something that's a little bit more complicated than it might seem on its face. So I'd want to research it and figure that out before I say anything concretely. But I think I understand the question, so that gives us a place to start.
Okay.
Chad, did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that. That's my intuition as well, is I think the interplay between the various authorities could be complex. And it may not just be a simple thing. We want to protect them from arbitrary involvement by the supervisors or something like that.
Correct.
There's going to have to be, I think, some definitions involved in order to make clear what it is that the charter is trying to protect or trying to enforce. Yeah, no, I think your suggestion, we can put it on our list and maybe do some, a little dive tomorrow or this weekend if we have time.
Yeah, I'm
But,
gonna go with
especially
that,
Miss
'cause I think
you
maybe under
were
government
looking for a
body.
while, and I think you would have really found a definition. Find that, and you've been taking the.
I mean,
Yeah.
do you girls agree with
It may
me
be
on that?
difficult for us to
I'm
find
sorry, I'm
out.
bringing up some shit tonight, but I want to get it
I
done.
understand the
Yeah, I
sentiment,
mean, we
I'm
did the
just not sure
second
what
class
a
township and
general
we studied that Misty and
piece of language would look like, but
I
let's
know,
take a
it's
look
just
in the
like
next
tonight.
day or two, and we can offer a suggestion.
All right, long as there's something in the charter stating that it goes, the fire department goes to the voters about dismantlement and stuff. Only if it can't be disbanded
He can't hear you.
if we have, no, I'm just speaking out in discussion right now. It can't be disbanded without,
Referendum,
yeah,
referendum.
right.
Yeah. Once you guys are done with that discussion, I'd like to try and, that's why I moved over.
Okay,
Chad, do you kind of understand where we want to go with that?
Yeah, I understand it, and I think it sounds like Natalie does as well. The question is, how do we actually write that?
Yeah.
Because just writing that we don't want there to be an arbitrary disbandment of the municipal authorities could be difficult unless we have a specific definition of what it is that we're not disbanding. And so the interplay between the municipal authorities and the township could be more detailed and dicier than we know. It's just something we're going to have to look into. I think we understand the question, but don't know what answers we'll have for you.
Then Chad, under governing bodies, there's one thing, we were sitting here talking, and I know it was brought up earlier. We talked about nepotism before, And I was wondering where we got on that, because we all talked about this earlier in the process.
Way early, yeah.
Way earlier. And I don't know if it's legal, and I can't remember where we got it, but if we could have something in there like the next general election, because everything would stay in play for now, but we want it so there would be no nepotism in Highland Township. We wouldn't want the supervisors to be able to be a brother and brother be a supervisor, or any immediate family, or the secretary, or the what's Sam do? Tax collector, and that or an auditor,
Or the roadmaster.
or the roadmaster.
Family
Well,
Dollar
they're
has a
gonna
really
hire
good
them.
anti-nepotism
That's the problem.
policy. If you
They're
need
gonna
someone to
hire
look. They have a really good anti-nepotism policy. Family Dollar.
Do they really?
Yeah, I seen it online.
I mean, like I said, I'm not trying to make more work, but I know that I know we've talked about that, and that was another big thing that everybody talked to us about.
Yeah, yeah. But that was early, and we kind of
We forgot about it.
Yeah.
But we're also gonna have to limit that too, because it was brought up with some of the people that nepotism, if it's good for the township, it has to go for everything else. The water authority, the fire department, all that.
They got their own boards.
Exactly.
But
Their own set of bylaws.
they got their own set of bylaws, and
Right.
what I'm saying, and it should all follow suit. If we adopt that in Highland Township, the board, the water authority, which you're not going to get anybody to do it, but they should follow suit and mandate their own laws. I'm saying for Highland Township, that's something that was brought up to us, especially the circumstance we are right now.
Governing body
They left
of
it-
The
Highland
government, I
Township.
think the government body, if you said an example of the government body, I think the rest of our board should follow suit.
I agree.
I mean,
Okay.
to me, I mean, to me, how I'd like to see it written, immediate family, you do that to, first cousin. I mean, we're not gonna drag it out the whole way. You go to a cousin or a first cousin. I mean, we're all related, but generally, but most of us, sad but true. But you drag it out to that. I think we have to have some kind of, or even we go
It's confirmed.
brother, sister, or something like that. But I think we should set something on what it is. And I think if this goes through at the next general election, once the supervisor's terms are out, it should be enacted.
You're talking about just the paid positions, not
I'm talking about
Supervisors,
supervisors
and,
or any
Governing body of
any
Highland
governing
Township.
body of Highland Township.
but like the fire department would be different.
No.
Fire department's not a governing body.
It's not.
No.
It's not. And
Ish.
well, and I think I mean.
I did this enough. I'm
First,
not.
do you think that's a good idea for transparency? I mean, I'm looking out at the public right now.
We got one thumbs up.
Yes. Yeah. Jim, do you think that's a good idea for transparency to try and get people not to be related to set up here on the
Oh, I
board?
think it's a good idea, but it's not gonna happen.
I think they should specify how far out it goes.
Well,
because, like I said before, my husband is related to what, 95% of the people.
Well, yeah. But I'm saying if you do,
Brother and sister, mother,
I feel your
father.
pain, Sue, just so you know.
immediate family, brother, sister, father, daughter, that kind of thing, because you're not in there. I mean, I think we need that.
Brother-in-law,
I mean, this is open. How far out do you guys think it should go?
immediate in-laws.
Immediate in-laws.
Okay.
Fifth cousins.
No, but and I'm sorry for binding this up, but that's the one thing that we forgot. And I'm starting to look at this.
Quit apologizing. It's a sign of weakness.
I'm very weak. I'm very weak.
Okay, well.
Thank you.
But I want to look at this for what people are going to vote for, and I know that's one of the biggest bitches people's had.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Yeah, because we brought that. I remember bringing that up.
You girls brought
Yeah,
it
we
up.
brought it up at
when
the
we were
first
studying.
part of
Meeting.
our
Yep.
study.
Is that something that sounds like you guys can do, or?
I understand the question. The question is if we can do that. The first sort of thought that I would want to check on are like any sort of discrimination claim that might come up because of something like that. I don't know if there would be or not, but that's the first route that I'd probably check some sort of due process.
Because actually Hamilton has it drafted in, because we wanted to adopt it. Where's Steve? Where'd Steve get elected at? Wetmore's is drafted in. Wetmore's is excellent because that's the one.
Like that?
Yes, Wetmore's drafted theirs in. The supervisors actually voted it in, and it was brought up to this board before, and that's what we were pushing them to enact, and they would not enact it.
Yeah, it's an ordinance in Wetmore, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think
Who brought that up? The supervisors did, or?
No, we brought it up before this all got started. JP, this was brought up to try and cure some of the stuff that already happened.
Yeah, because there was, somebody said that they would step down if somebody got something, and
They didn't.
they didn't.
Yeah, that'd be something, we can check on it and see what we find.
And I'm not gonna say I'm sorry, but I'm not trying to make you work more. I appreciate all your work.
And I'm sure Wetmore Township would be
They'd be
more
real good
than
about it. They'd be real
willing
good.
to let us review their ordinance.
That'd be great if you can get an actual copy of it
Mhm.
and pass it along.
Sure.
What more? You gonna do that, Misty, or you want me to?
I think
Boy
there's-
can do that. His boss is the supervisor.
Oh.
I know he won't leave me alone. It's all Frank's fault. We're blacktopping tomorrow.
I know.
Take me with.
Lloyd could get that quicker than probably we could.
Right. I'll call Wetmore tomorrow. Hopefully, maybe they're open. If I
never
can't
mind.
get them
Let's just gonna do
tomorrow,
it.
then first thing on Monday morning.
There's a copy of it up here.
I don't know if they work on Friday.
There's a
If
That's what I'm
they're,
worried about, if they work on Fridays or not.
ask Steve if supervisors, if the office is open on Fridays.
Lloyd, I think Steve still got a copy of it because I can't
Yeah.
remember who gave Bobby a copy because that's where we got it. Bobby and Kevin had a copy of it.
Yeah, let me ask him.
But I'd like to see it written up so it's fair. If we can enact this at the next once the supervisor's terms are done, any newly elected supervisor, auditor, tax collector shall not be related to the prior board that's sitting in there. I mean, that's how I'd like to see the language written. So that way we're not gonna get fought on it.
So you're gonna throw everybody out every election?
No, I didn't say that.
Well, you didn't say
I don't want
that.
any.
No, I just ate
No,
some
how did I
cookies.
say that, Jim?
You can't be related to the prior board.
If you are going to be elected, the next supervisor, if you're going to run, let's say if I was going to run
He's
right
going to
now,
call.
I could actually run
Supervisor.
because I am not related to anybody. No, I couldn't because my
Lloyd's
mom's an
boss
auditor.
is the supervisor for Wetmore.
Yeah,
I just
like
called
Matt,
him.
you couldn't
would have
run
to
for
call him.
I
supervisor
couldn't
because your
run.
mother's
Mom's
an auditor.
Exactly.
Right.
And I also think if you have that in there, you're going to get out of the James City thing, which is one of your worries, because a lot of the people, Sam's tax collector, most of the auditors are from James City, and they have a lot of relations. You're going to get more transparency out in farther reaches.
I agree.
It's on itself.
I think that
Yeah,
might
the
in
ordinance.
effect push the governing body
Farther.
out past the James City town limits. Maybe in the fire department, some limits.
I mean, do you guys think that's a good idea?
I do, Matt, to a point, but I also believe that if it's an elected position and the mass of people did not have a problem hiring two brothers in them positions, then let the people say so. Let them. If they want to hire a whole family to run your township, let them do it. One of my concerns that I kind of like a gut feeling. If you put so many restrictions on the supervisor's position, it's not going to be a very glamorous position.
It already isn't.
And I worry that no health insurance, no. I mean, some people are just civic minded and will continue to run. That others are looking for that little benefit.
Well, it wasn't written in there. We didn't talk about their health insurance this time.
No.
No,
It's not
we
written
actually
in there.
dropped the
We
health
dropped that.
insurance
Yeah,
issue.
we dropped the health insurance just because. I mean, you're not going to come up here. Somebody, and that's a two-term thing. You got to get elected to a second term. And I know certain people will argue with me, but I think a supervisor should have a little bit of reward for doing something. In a 4-year term minimum, we're going to give them as being a member of Highland Township. You're doing a good job. We're going to vote you back in for the second term, so you're going to have a little perks. So you're going to have a little bit. You're going to want to do better for us. I mean, we can't bare bone them. They're not making anything. We're asking them to come up and make all these decisions and everything else. But I think what's going on, and this is just me personally, what's going on right now, there are too many people that are involved that shouldn't be.
I just talked to Steve Matt, and he said that he would look in the morning and get me a copy of what they have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up. We'll be at the next meeting too, and we'll talk about it more. We can read it out. Maybe we'll have a copy. It's something we can read out at the next minute what they did, and see if you want to ad lib or want to change something on it. And we don't even have to put it in. It's just an idea.
If you want to strike it, you can touch it. It's one of the things.
I think we're done on that subject.
I think we're still thinking that we didn't completely strike it.
Okay.
I think
I just this the comment was that
Eat up.
Okay.
So we're actually through
Yeah, I don't think it's.
revisions on the charter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
What's
I
next?
think we're good on that one.
What's next, JP? Lead us off.
Okay, so what we're doing is, Lloyd just went out and talked to one of Wetmore Township supervisors, and they do have a current ordinance in place of an anti-nepotism policy. And we're hopefully going to get a copy of that so we can get it to either you or Natalie tomorrow. We just had a supporter ride by.
They were horny.
Natalie, here's a question. Is there some way, instead of having that on the charter, could we adopt an ordinance that we had up supplementing the charter? So we could make it something that's freestanding, whether we vote on it for the charter, it would be freestanding something to vote on in the general election. Or does it have to be in as an, does it have to be in a charter?
So you're asking if there could be an ordinance that's drafted up by folks right now to put on the ballot at the same time that the whole charter would be up for? My first reaction is no, because citizens don't have that power right now. They don't have the power of initiative and referendum in Highland Township right now. If the home rule charter was approved, then that's something that people could go back in and actually amend and legislate that way.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, I think currently we can't vote on whether we pass an ordinance or not.
The only ones that can do that is the three supervisors.
I didn't know if there's some kind of
they won't.
some kind of fluff we could put in there, so we're actually letting somebody, even though you're voting on the charter, but they could make their decision.
Yeah, like some sort of rider or something
Yes,
like that.
like a rider on it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Are we over with the, are we done with the charter now, or?
I think that we're finished with that discussion.
Okay. Natalie, are you clear on where stuff's at and the questions with the nepotism stuff?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm going to take a look at the ordinance when they send it over that the neighboring township has, and I think I'll touch base with a few of the other attorneys on some questions I have in the back of my mind. But yeah, I think I understand the question.
Okay. I wanted to recap what I think we're up to regarding the charter, but before I do that, is there any other thoughts, questions on the charter itself or suggestions?
No, I don't have any.
Okay, so to break this into two kind of categories, I think we've got tweaks to the language and then some research still to do. And the tweaks that I have are we're going to tweak the language in the taxation section in 107 to make it more plain English. And then we are going to tweak the language in 406 regarding the direct action not impeding emergency vehicles or humanitarian efforts.
Right.
And we're going to tweak some of the language in 208 and the budgetary stuff. Natalie and I are going to work on that. Regarding substantive stuff, we still have the healthcare issue and coverage for full or part-time employees of the township. The municipal authorities, particularly the water authorities, and not having them be privatized. Also the fire department and the sewer authority, basically protection from having them be disbanded. And then the nepotism stuff. Those were the major areas that I see still as outstanding for research or questions. Natalie, does that match up with your take there?
Yeah, and I'll consolidate my notes here afterward, but that's what I'm gathering, yes.
Okay. With that, if we say, you know, the substantive areas are healthcare, the water authority, the fire and sewer authorities, and the nepotism stuff, you know, recognizing that we may be up against a research time crunch here in the next couple of days, I'm interested in the study commission's prioritization of those.
If we can't get it, my opinion is that people will vote it in. They'll have enough initiative to go take a referendum to put it on the ballot.
He's asking in like what kind of order?
What's
So
priority?
like healthcare, would that be your last priority?
I think healthcare would be your bottom priority.
Bottom, and then nepotism or the fire and water and sewer.
I think it.
Nepotism would be the right above, right
I think you
above
should go
that.
fire, nepotism,
Yep.
And then healthcare, okay.
and then healthcare. Was there 4?
Well, it depends on if we're talking about differences between the water authorities and privatization versus lumping all of the municipal authorities together.
Not lumping.
My sense is the municipal authority stuff could be some rabbit holes. And so, you know, there's a question of whether the water is more important if we have to distinguish, or whether you want to only deal with all of the, you know, fire department, sewer authority, and the 2 water authorities all as one, or, you know, if you're willing to separate them.
With rabbit holes you're talking about, they might have to individually.
Yeah, just thinking about the amount of research that it might take to shag down how much, like what the contours of what the law allows, and then from there actually craft language around what the law allows.
I think right now our most important parts are water.
Water, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So water,
Yeah.
then what?
Water, fire, nepotism, and healthcare. In that order.
Sounds like the beginning of a band.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Water, fire.
Yeah, water, fire, nepotism, and healthcare.
With the next claimer on, with the nepotism, that's something that's gonna get this charter pushed through, in my opinion. It really is.
I wish we would have thought about this 3 months ago.
Yeah, I don't know what got my mind.
We still have time.
We still have time.
Like, if we don't get this together,
We can wait.
we can go till April.
But you wanna know something? We could also take a referendum through. Maybe it's the best way we look at this. We could all go together. We've done this much work. If we believe in it, we can get a bunch of people together. We can get a ballot signed, a petition signed, and we'll get it on it.
Right.
Right, we can I'll
Yeah.
get it on the ballot.
I mean, honestly, our most important things are water. That's why we're here.
Yep.
Actually, our environment, not just our water.
Yeah.
And the healthcare thing, I don't know if that's really a issue here because, I mean, does everybody get healthcare here?
No, they don't. Christy doesn't get it. The only one, actually, Kim and Tom get it. And Jim gets a supplement because Jim was actually a second-term supervisor. Mike and Glenn don't have insurance.
Now, do the employees, they have a, is it full-time or part-time?
They're full-time.
Do we not
So I don't know
offer
if we
it to
wanna
the
mess-
township secretary? Is it not offered to her?
Because of the hours, probably.
Probably because of the hour. I don't know. That's something that would take research on us. But I'm almost 100% sure that Mrs. Regal does not have healthcare insurance.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
if
she's not. It's
She's
offered,
not
but she's
full-time.
not. She's not full time.
I don't know if it's offered. I want to know if it's offered.
I'm saying it's probably based on what Chad or Mr.
Because-
Linzey was talking about last time, and he said that's based on if you're full-time or part-time.
The amount of
Most of
hours.
So they probably
Yeah.
already have policies in place. We're just not aware of them.
Right.
I know Leatrice didn't get it. I'm pretty sure Leatrice didn't get it.
I don't think she did either.
I mean, that's why a lot of companies and like places in Canada
I'm just
cut people
the reason
down
why I'm
so they don't have
saying
to get the
the reason why
insurance.
I'm concerned just because in the current situation, if you're going to pay for Jim Wolf's insurance, who's here a couple times a month, and we're not going to pay for Christie's insurance, who's here every single day answering her phones, paying our bills, doing, you know what I mean? That's we're like.
Yeah, but the difference is you're throwing a bone. That's why we, and this is my opinion on it. Now that we capped it at 4 years, they get $70 a month. $70 a month, and you times that by 30%, they knock it off. We're asking somebody to make $60 a month.
And they can
Well,
only
they-
get insurance on their second year.
Right.
They can only
Their
get
second
second term.
Right.
They have to be elected again.
Yes.
So that means right now they would have to set 6 years. When in Jim's case, Jim got appointed by the judge. He set that term for 2 years, and then he has it. You know, I still think we got to throw a bone to a supervisor. I don't think that's enough money.
I thought last time, I thought you were saying 2 years, but you mean 2 terms?
Two terms.
Okay, well, that's a lot different, yeah. Because if the,
2 terms.
if the community sees fit
Okay.
to hire that
Well,
person
no, it'd
again,
be
or elect
like
that
now
person again.
we got duly elected. Let's say you got elected. And if you got elected, you'd have to set your whole 6 terms. Say we're staying like right where Highland, you'd have to set your whole 6 terms. Then you'd have to get elected again, and then you could apply to have the township pay you insurance.
Right.
Well, actually, it's a supplement. You know what I mean?
Right.
I can't actually say what they're doing because I'm not that person.
Because right now, the way it was discussed before is that they personally pay their insurance. The township just gave them raises to pay for their
That's what
insurance.
they do because
Yeah.
right now what happened is the way they changed Pizzatch changed the law that the township can no longer pay
Right.
for that legally. So they gave them a raise to pay their
Pay for
provider.
Right.
Then you're stuck. I know a lot about healthcare. It's kind of what I do. But like with that Obamacare and that kind of stuff, then you're stuck almost in a hole. What happens is I give JP a raise. JP's going to be our employee today. The township gives JP a raise. Okay, so then he has to report that to his insurance. So his insurance goes up. So then we have to give JP more money in the form of a raise. And then he reports that to his insurance company, and then his insurance goes up. So we're never stopping it if we're going to do it that way.
But you
Government's
can't,
getting their
the way that is up here, it's now illegal with everything that got pushed through that they cannot, Pizzatch does not let them hold the policy. I do not know the logistics about it because that's why it went through, because it would significantly be easier for the township to cover it instead of doing that.
Yeah, remember when they had their insurance dropped? That was
a different policy. That was
right, and that was one
of
of some of the stipulations. If I'm correct.
No, I think you're incorrect. I think that issue was other like liabilities, insurances, and that kind of stuff. It wasn't their health care.
No, this is something that comes right from Pizzatch. If I can remember all the meetings, and trust me, we get flooded.
I think we got a lot of discussion and a lot of research to do on that healthcare. I still think it should be at the bottom of our priority list.
Yeah. Bottom of our
Because
priority.
I need to be able to know what the employee policy is currently before I can change it.
Well, you'll have to fill out a right to know and come up and get it.
I'm gonna have to.
I think the supervisor, or the code, I think, says that the auditor set that up.
Okay, is that then, a discussion?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
We'll move on.
You beat that horse to death. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I think we're done with the charter then for tonight.
Okay.
I know you folks wanted to look at hearing stuff as well as final report stuff. Is there any reason for me to be on the phone for that, or anything that you want to run through that with me?
I don't think so. Did you look at it yet?
Yeah, I looked at it briefly. I'll hope to look at it in more detail tomorrow. The main things that stuck out are going to be clearly identifying who pays for what. I know it says donations and recycling and things in certain parts on the finance page. I don't know if there's more detailed records on that, but the more detail, the better. And then the other thing is just as you start to fill that out, planning for any remaining expenses, including my and Natalie's time on the road and things in the next couple of days, and figuring out where that money is coming from, if that's from the township or donations or things like that. So thinking ahead on those things.
Okay. Okay, that was my only question.
Okay. And then if you folks are talking hearing tonight, that's great, and we can bring that back up on tomorrow's call as well if you have questions on the hearing for Monday. Did the mailers all went out to everybody? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, any other questions for me then tonight, folks?
Nope. Everybody's shaking their head.
Thank you, Chad.
Thanks,
you.
Chad.
Okay?
Thanks, Chad.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
And so tomorrow night, meeting's at 7.
Yep.
Yes.
And neither Natalie or I can be there in person. And so I guess, Misty, if you just want to text me when you're ready, I will, you can either call you or you can call me, and then we can catch Natalie in through that, and we will both be on the call.
Sounds good.
Okay. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Good night.
Good night.
Yeah, if you want.
Good night, Frank.
Good night.
Hey, Frank.
See you tomorrow.
We gotta move.
Now, next motion is to discuss the draft, or did we just do that?
The draft charter was what we did. I handed out the the draft final report. And I'd like everybody, if they have time, to check that out tonight or tomorrow. Like Chad said, that probably need more detail on some of this, the final at the end. The only thing, some of our donations that we got were anonymous. They didn't want to be named. I don't know. I don't know if we have to name them. I know who did it.
Well, if they say they don't want to be anonymous.
Yeah, you just put in kind of. That way it's anonymous.
Can I make a correction?
Yeah, absolutely,
On
please.
the monetary donations, it's RANF.
Okay.
Now, did you want to include the donations today in tomorrow's treasury report?
Yeah, because I'll include what we got last week that I haven't yet, and then what we have in today will be included in. So those the total donations there at the end of 60460 is not what we took in last week from our recycling program or our donation. So that doesn't include any of that from last week or this week yet.
Did you want to open and see what that is now, or
Oh yeah, sure.
give us an idea? So this isn't last
Matt,
week?
do you want to turn that fan on behind you?
It's over there.
Over there.
That was Sue's sheet.
So the treasury
Sherry
report,
took it.
it doesn't
Yeah.
count last week's? You're
It
saying?
has not,
Last
we are
week's or
not
this
in
week?
total from last week or this week
Okay.
yet. There's a dime in there. It's $9.10. And this is from our recycling program. Well, it's not program, I guess. It's a recycling fundraiser.
Right.
So we collect bottles and cans and
Misty, I don't know if Steve was or not, but all the bottles that she took last time, she wasn't able to return them.
yeah.
I do believe she was going to recycle them though.
Okay.
You know, so she doesn't, I believe.
Okay. All right. And then we got a $10 donation from Mary Dean. And we got a $35.20 donation from Cash, which is to pay for our public hearing notice.
$35.23.
20 cents, $35.20. So, like I said, these last two pages here, there'll be additions, corrections, moves. Maybe hopefully try to figure that out a lot clearer in the summary of expenses. He was saying we have to think about what's coming. I know we have at least 2 more trips from there to here. The last time it was $127, so we're gonna multiply that by 2, so that'll be $300 coming. They're going to spend the night with us on Monday, correct? And I called the Cane Manor, so that's where they'll be staying with us on Monday night. They have a really good per night price, I thought. Yeah. And they have Wi-Fi and, the creature comforts like remote TV.
Vibrating bed for a quarter?
Yeah. Well, I warned Chad about that. I'm not sure if you warned Natalie, but...
Oh.
You've been told.
Are you getting 2 separate rooms, or?
Yes. But in our contract, in our retainer contract, we pay for just the one room.
How much are the rooms?
75.
That's not bad at all.
No, I thought $75 a night for Kane Manor, and it is a nice place.
It is a
Might
nice
be a little bit
place.
haunted, but it's nice.
Sounds
And I thought it was $75 a night, and I thought it was.
thought that was
Can we cover one of those rooms
150 a night.
What?
for this? I'm asking you because you're my accountant.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll take care of one of the rooms. Well, my accountant will take care of one of the rooms.
Yeah, we'll donate the money in his state to cover one of the rooms.
Okay.
All right, they get separate rooms now. No, I know they're gonna get separate rooms anyway.
It's gonna be bunk
I'm
beds.
just kidding. Yeah.
So we'll have just the $300 for their travel expenses then, because
Okay.
we got a donation expected for the room. So we'll have just that. We do have filing fees and that kind of stuff that I don't have on here. Hopefully we continue. I do expect donations to come in, continue, but I do believe that now hopefully we're towards the end, so our donations are going to slow down too. So unfortunately, some of our costs will probably have to be deferred back to the township, but they can't say that it costs the township hundreds of thousands of dollars like they were first saying.
Right.
You know, we're
It
going
was
to cost.
95,000 just for the lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Even
according
if-
to PSATs and
Even if they
the other
covered
township.
just the filing fees, if it had to be that.
Honestly,
Couple
they
traveling
just
fees.
wasted
'Cause grants-
$4,000 on a lawyer. What are we wasting? When we're trying to change something for the better.
Right, and we're only.
For right or wrong, I mean, I hate to say that and throw that out, and
And I think we'll be less than $1,000
Yeah,
total
I'm not
that
worried
come out of
about it.
Highland Township.
We did mail those things. Tom did, and Tom, how did that go? You just had to.
Yeah, I just took it up to the post office and everything was fine. Everybody will have them tomorrow.
Okay. What was that around, like 80, something like that, or
80, well, huh?
how much?
The cost.
Oh,
That's it.
she has it.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know she had it.
I told you, $35.20.
That's all it was.
yeah,
To send them all out.
You just said that.
Oh yeah, but there was one for the Highland.
Yeah,
Remember,
is
you
that-
you paid online for one, like.
Yeah, I paid $21 for James City. Maybe you can check that.
Is that this one?
Well, there's 2 pages to that. That's just James City's.
That's just, that doesn't go with that, or?
Or I should have given the 2
You
pages.
got 2 copies?
Yeah, that's why I was just making sure.
Yep.
There's a total on one page and a total on the other page.
So there's 2 totals you have to add.
Oh, there's 2 totals here that we have to add together.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the donation of $35.20 from cash for the $35.20, and then the other cost is for $21.30.
Yeah, Tom was showing me how it's done. Is the way you have to do it is you have to do one route, pay for
Yeah.
it, and then another route, pay for it separately.
Yeah, it's the same way they did it last time.
We can probably expect another donation from cash for $21.30
Okay.
for the remainder of that, so they'll pay the,
Because we voted on that, we just paid for the mailing, so.
okay,
It was just a mistake, they missed it, but it's not done.
okay.
What else do we got?
Pretty much, I just like everybody to go through this, make sure I don't have any spelling, grammatical errors, that kind of stuff, because I'm really bad at that, and I had this going, and then the file got corrupted, and I couldn't get it back, and I had to start all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
You put that acronym in there. I had asked my son what it meant. And he told me, it's like, wow. Okay. I won't say what it was, but.
so please, it was a late night, so there could be Grant Township in here for all I know, instead of Highland, where Highland should be. Not that hasn't been done before, but that might be done again. I did take Grant's final and did a lot, just put a lot of it on ours. Different things were just in our charter. Also, that was the other thing, is there's a section in here about the similarities and differences between the current and proposed township governments. Make sure that that's all accurate.
Okay.
That would be a great help. And then that's on page 13. So make sure that page 13 is accurate.
So can we all check this like tonight or tomorrow and
Yeah, tomorrow.
put our input on it?
Yeah. Yeah, just like I said, you check my grammar, my spelling, and my accuracy.
Then when and if we do sign this, can we sign it all at the meeting, then it's taken down to the notary? Do we have to have a notary here to see us all sign it?
We have to sign it in front of the notary. It doesn't necessarily mean we all have to be in the same place at the same time, but the paper has to be signed, everybody has to sign in front of the notary. I did talk to Marcia about talking to the notary that came up the last time.
Ron Smith.
And hopefully Marcia can sweet talk somebody into coming out here on Tuesday.
Okay.
Because if we get everything, I guess our timeline was Monday for our hearing, and then Tuesday a possible final vote on the final charter so we can get this stuff moving. And if that's the case, we'll have to have that notary here on Tuesday.
Okay. All right, is that it on that?
Yeah, please just check my accuracy.
Okay. All right, now new business, a motion, we talk about the public hearing and the duty distribution.
The public hearing this time will be kind of a lot like it was last time. I'm going to go in and do that, take the same, pretty much the same PowerPoint and tweak it. You know, so it's kind of watching a rerun, but a little bit longer. We do need to figure out who's talking, when, and what about.
Well, Matt and I were doing pretty good going, you take it.
That'll work the same.
We were just kind of eye contact with like,
yeah, that worked pretty good. I'm not a reader.
I was stressed because we were winging it.
So who doesn't want to read?
People couldn't understand.
Yeah, I don't want to read.
Hear
Same
me,
as the last
because
time,
I was
maybe?
facing that way. I think that was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
We could maybe get a microphone or a
Either that
bullhorn.
or see if we can get a longer, I got a longer extension cord, we can actually sit the
Honestly, I think we can all do eye contact.
TV right up
between
here.
Yeah.
This time.
Me, you're
Misty.
good. I'm probably the worst reader out of all of us. But
No, you're
So
not.
we'll give you the most like we did last time.
You just couldn't, there was a glare, you couldn't really
I couldn't
see.
see. As long as I have a hard copy, I'll read whatever anybody wants me to read. To the best of my
Got a lot of work
abilities.
to do for Monday, between now and Monday.
Of course I do.
And we'll talk more about that tomorrow, about the distribution of who's going to read, or are we going to figure that out later?
No, it better be tomorrow.
And if anybody has got PowerPoint skills, I would welcome any help.
I think you did excellent last time. I think that's the best thing. You just put it on the board, let it roll through. I mean, we're not a law firm, and this is a real thing. We're trying to do our best. We're doing our best. That's it. Either accept it or not. We're doing our best. That's all I can say.
Amy, will we be going, or this is for Misty and Amy, will we be going with the TV again, or would you be
Yes.
able to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not promising a projector or a screen because I tried that last time and the person that was supposed to bring it back never brought it back.
Yeah.
All right, I have a suggestion. I'll bring up an extension cord. Why don't we put the TV on
Put it
the
right here.
table, and the 3 people that are gonna be reading, or 4 or whatever, stand right up here, and the rest of us just scoot back here, but we're still all together. And that way the audience can see it more, and you guys are able to see it more.
Well, we can just take our turns. I think we can just rotate it. Maybe that'd be the easiest way. If there's 20-some pages,
but actually bringing the
it's going to be harder for me to
screener.
read.
Is it possible that we?
We got to get in front of it.
We didn't have to get in front of it to read
We
it.
got to get in front of it to read it.
But would it be possible to
Any way
maybe
to put it over there?
coordinate some kind of interpretive dance?
No.
That'd be great. Lloyd's got a tutu, I heard.
wherever we are.
Wherever we put it, we're going to get it read. We're going to get
You
it read.
3 dance.
The computer can only be so far away from it.
We're
so
going to get it read.
the
Wherever you
controller-
guys.
And also, we'll have it scripted
Yeah.
as well for each page, so you can just read off of the paper.
Yeah.
Alrighty, moving on.
As long as it's not bigger than 4 words, I'll get it.
All right. Next was community reports. I don't think we have anything from Tom Morzetti, public relations.
No,
Or
other than
outreach.
we mailed the,
We already kind of did
Yep,
that.
that was it.
today.
Okay. I'm
There's
just going by the agenda here.
There's hardly any public left, so.
All right.
That's right.
No, there's 15 people out there. What are you talking about?
There was.
There must have been something in my water, I don't
don't-
I'm
know.
always seeing 15.
No,
Public
the video
comment?
can't see the crowd. So.
Public comment, Marcia?
Do you guys want me to see if I can get a mic or not?
A mic?
There's,
There is a
We have one up there.
mic up
They're
here.
supposed to be.
Yeah.
Except that they never use it, we can't hear half the time.
What?
I'll tell you what, I don't think we gotta go. I think
I
it's
don't
gonna
think
make
so
it more.
either,
Oh, here's the
Last
thing though,
time-
is we could mic the phone for when Chad and Natalie call tomorrow.
Yeah.
That would be.
Last time the TV was way back there, we had to turn that way to talk,
Yeah.
and we were projecting our voices that way instead of out towards the crowd. So
Or maybe
But
we can get a
that's when we were
table.
winging it. I don't
Yeah.
want to wing it.
Or,
That's why I was suggesting
Bill-
about
I
putting the
don't want to
TV up
replay it
here.
to wing it. That stresses
and-
me out.
Bill, maybe we could get
the
another
only thing
table.
that failed
on
was
the
I
side.
wasn't.
Yeah.
I was
You
reading
can
off the
move that
TV. I wasn't following, and I couldn't find
can
what I
bring
was
the
looking
table
for
up in
until
front.
later.
Well, that's not a
Table
problem.
over
If the
there.
table's over there facing like us and them.
Wherever we put
Yeah.
it, as long as we get some sheets, what I think is the
Monday.
easiest way to do it, whoever's gonna read, I agree with Bill, if you wanna put it here, we come up, do a proper PowerPoint, you come up, you stand here, kinda face it, read off a sheet, once you're done, circle back around, that way everybody's not
Yeah.
getting choked up, because we're not speakers.
Matt, you can't forget the jazz hands though.
Oh yeah, I got an Italian wife.
That's all I have.
All right, public comments?
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for staying.
I'm dedicated.
Tom's
Tom
got
says,
one.
"Wait a minute."
Oh wait.
Nope, he's gone. All
No,
right.
no, he said, oh, wait a minute. I think he's gonna.
Adjourn it,
Adjourn.
adjourn it, adjourn it.
Did you have something? All right.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
In a second. Thanks for coming up, Natalie.
We're always the two to make the motion.